Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Am I Missing Something? It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
If you've not joined us for one of these before, this is our commentary platform, let's say. We talk about, a little bit more freeform about things that in music we may or may not get. We're not trying to ridicule anybody. We are not trying to say that your opinion is wrong or your opinion is right. We're just asking the question, are we missing something? And this time, this one really was kind of unexpected.
Well, I
would think.
Are you having deja vu, Matt? Because I kind of am.
Yeah, because we already got a 17-track double album from the Chili Peppers.
Like literally, when we were reviewing the Red Hot Chili Peppers' last album, Unlimited Love, the last thing I expected was additional new music.
17 more tracks.
Same year. But literally not even like less than 6 months after that album came out, they go, we had such a great creative form, just great creative environment, and it just spilled out of us, and we're so proud of this new music. I'm like, wait, what? Another album and another double album for that matter? What? And we could have done our 2 minutes to review series on this album again and do something that I think neither of us expected to, was review 2 Chili Pepper albums in the span of the year. But when they announced that they were releasing Return of the Dream Canteen and then released some of the singles out, it just made me go, well, hold on, what am I missing? What is actually going on? And it made me think of bigger questions like, why are we doing so many double albums? And just kind of also ponder the state of the union, almost the state of the Chili Peppers in 2022.
I think they just like double albums.
So let me also preface this by also kind of saying my thoughts on the album. I'll ask you, let's just kind of get into that first. It's been a week now, basically, since the album came out. I'll go ahead and say it. I like what I heard. I'm listening to Return of the Dream Canteen, and I'm having almost deja vu again, the same feelings that I had of listening to Unlimited Love. There are some good, cool moments, but it's taking me multiple listens to be like, okay, this is like, it's a good album, but it's kind of forgettable, just like Unlimited Love. Like, why release another double album that is frankly a little forgettable? Again, great moments. There's definitely moments when John Frusciante shines, but it still pales in comparison to the past work, and it's at best an enjoyable listen that you're going to kind of forget about in a month.
I mean, I'm kind of on the same level. However, I would say that I like Return to the Dream Canteen a little bit more than Unlimited Love. However, both of them, I would say, are on the level of The Getaway in terms of what they're trying to accomplish music-wise. And I wasn't a huge fan of The Getaway, and this more like, I don't want to say like trippy, because the Chili Peppers have always been a little bit trippy, but they're literally in like this dream state of playing music and trying to feel like vibey, and they're trying to do anything other than like rock or funk or sprinkling these elements in like here and there. They're not giving you quite like the whole ball of wax like they did on like Stadium Arcadium or like By the Way or Californication. Like those albums show the Chili Peppers and everything that they can do in those spaces, and it was great. Like those are some of the best albums they've ever put out. And now we have this older Chili Peppers doing, I guess, maybe an older style vibe for them. I don't know what they're going for, but
I think what's frustrating for me is that it's not even that, like, because you said, like, you're right in that they're classic albums, By the Way, Californication, Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic, and Stadium Arcadium, which again, multiple fans are going to debate whether some of those albums are really classics or not, but at least those, like you mentioned, they brought their A game. I still feel
you felt it, that this
you felt that this was special. Whereas while you can tell that they had fun on both Unlimited Love and this, it feels like I'm listening to demos.
Wait a second. Hold on with that, because we both said that it felt like they were kind of hesitant on Unlimited Love. I remember that we both said that
Yeah.
it kind of felt like, the band's getting back together, but can I really trust that we're
Yeah.
getting back together?
This
And
one, they feel a little bit more like, all right, cool. This could work.
yeah, I can agree with you 100% on that. And on the track Fake as Fuck, it really shows that this is when they came out of their shell. Like, I really feel like they didn't hold back.
I will
Uh,
say also a song like Eddie, I actually is probably one of the first songs off of both of these last two albums that I actually still have stuck in my head.
it's a good song and it's a good tribute to Eddie Van Halen without going crazy. Like, they're not
Yeah.
trying to play
Oh,
Van Halen style. Yeah, Van Halen style songs. They're just being the Chili Peppers and just playing a tribute to Eddie Van Halen. So I think
And actually,
from
and even Tip of My Tongue, which is the first song they released, like I'll say the same feeling I had when with the first single, Black Summer. At first, I'm like, it's not special. But the more I listen to it, I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good. And the more I listen to it, the more I kind of like enjoy it. But it still is a chore to listen to
it
both
is.
albums.
It is. Not even gonna deny it. And when I heard Tip of My Tongue, I was hopeful that maybe we're gonna get something different. And then it came on, and about the first 30 seconds, and I'm like, this is gonna be the same thing as Unlimited Love. They're still in the same space. They're still literally in the same recording sessions. They just kept going. And I don't know if, and this kind of bums me out, I don't know if we're going to get the Chili Peppers from like 10 or 15 years ago anymore, or at least even some of, I don't even want to say like the same style songs, but like even the same sounds. Like, are we ever going to get a crazy Flea bass riff like Around the World? Are we going to get that ever again? Are we ever going to get like a John Frusciante playing Danny California again? Are we ever going to get any of that style of music ever again? And I hate to say it, I feel like the answer is no at this point.
Well, I almost would be more than okay if we didn't get that sound, if instead we at least got the energy. Because, and I go back to my statement of this sounding like a demo recording session, in that there's some really cool ideas on these songs sprinkled throughout, even though the songs that are really more forgettable than the others. There's some cool ideas, but for whatever reason, they just said after the first take, yeah, that's great, let's just move on. And granted, I know that we could have a fun game of, if you had to choose 5 songs off of Return of the Dream Canteen and 5 songs off Unlimited Love to make one album, which would you choose? And I'm not gonna lie, I actually struggle with it because that's how forgettable some of these songs are. But I just feel like if they, instead of releasing even one double album as opposed to 2, and instead just said, you know what, let's focus on these 7 songs, maybe 10, and really like practice the hell out of them. Like really, like before you even hit the recording studio, really tinker around with like what these songs would be. Instead of, oh, we're in the studio, let's just see what happens, and oh, that sounded cool. All right, you recorded it, awesome, let's move on. Like, I just wish it just didn't sound like a lot of emotion went into these songs, other than, oh, it's just so cool to be back in a room together. Whereas at least with like Californication, there was a little bit more purpose.
I can agree with all of it. It's not the Chili Peppers that you really signed up for. I mean, granted, if you got into the Chili Peppers past I'm With You, that's really going to be, the sound that you're getting.
Which, to your
Whereas
point, is also disappointing though, because when we reviewed Unlimited Love, you were like, well, if they brought back John Frusciante to recapture that gold, that momentum that they had, that they lost in the albums with Josh, then they failed.
I I liked I'm With You. Like, I liked Monarchy of Roses, Factory of Faith, The Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie is a great song. I mean, outside of those, yeah, there's some songs that are like forgettable, but I even feel like I'm With You is such a stronger album
See,
than
go ahead, sorry.
The Getaway and these last two.
You see, and I actually disagree in that I actually felt that, and I think we talked about this on Unlimited Love. I actually felt that The Getaway was a stronger album because I felt like on I'm With You, for whatever reason, both Chad and Anthony just sounded checked out. They just were not really into it. And Flea was still Flea. And Josh was kind of, and it's interesting because in the recent weeks of us recording this episode, Josh, who was John Frusciante's more recent replacement, revealed that he really felt stifled creatively when he was playing with the Chili Peppers. He had fun, but he definitely like realized pretty fast, like, oh, the band is not as into experimenting and expanding their sound. They're kind of sticking to a formula. And I even said this in the last review. It's a shame because Josh did such a great job playing John. You can tell that he was told, all right, this is what John Frusciante would do it. And I think he did that role well to a fault. But I actually felt, at least with the Getaway, it sounded like the members kind of got back into, I think Dark Necessities was a more, I thought that was a good song. I thought, what others? There was one other song that I'm blanking on.
That's how good it is. You can't remember it.
Yeah. Goodbye Angels. I was trying to think of between it was City of Angels or Goodbye Angels. So, you know, it's something LA related, but Goodbye Angels was pretty good. Like I felt like the four of them were finally sounding a little bit more like a band instead of two people showed up to do their job while the other ones just kind of cashed in. But it still lacked compared to Stadium Arcadium or By the Way or pretty much anything that they did in the 90s and 2000s.
There's no fire left, in my opinion. They're going on a completely different route of, we're gonna go find ourselves in a mountain somewhere with a lot of peyote. That's really where I could see it going.
To me, what also kind of mind boggles me, I want to talk about whether or not the band owes us more, because and this is something we discussed a little bit when we did the last time I'm Missing Something episode about Ozzy's last album. But one thing I found also interesting is that I kind of understand, like, I understand why they rushed to do music after Unlimited Love, only because so I saw the Chili Peppers live back in August at MetLife. And first off, amazing show, as always. They're still one of my favorite bands live. But something I found fascinating was that they played 4 songs off of Unlimited Love. And I'd say 15 to 30 seconds into each of those new songs, like clockwork, there was mass exoduses of people going to the bathroom. Like, it was clear that no one gave a crap about the new music live. I have to also even admit, I was kind of hoping that after hearing the album that maybe hearing them play it live would make me more interested in it, and it did not.
So let me ask this question.
Go ahead.
Us being in the New York market and radio not being rock friendly at all out here anymore, I think one of the alt stations is going to get ready to flip to like a dual simulcast of one of the news stations. And that really leaves 2 rock stations in the area. One is a classic rock station that is going to play the same 10 songs and Freebird over and over again. And the other one is I'm going to play generic rock songs over and over and over again. My question is, because we're in this market and because of those things, is that the reason why nobody cares about the new music? Because it's not played as much?
No, I think
you don't think so.
No, I think it's because it became clear to me even hearing it. It's not exciting to hear live either. I think it lacks the energy of the classic songs. And it's not because, I don't know this, I'm going to use this as an excuse to go to the bathroom. I think it's just, you can definitely tell that the quality of song is not the same as when you hear Other Side or when you hear Scar Tissue. Like, and I think I would even make the argument that out of all the markets, the reason why rock radio is kind of dying in our New York area is because our market is more attuned to streaming platforms and is more attuned to being able to listen to music, whatever music they want to hear, whenever they want to hear it. So I don't think that's and I also think, having seen the Chili Peppers live multiple times and having seen even the time before that, was seeing them at Madison Square Garden, while Josh was in support of the Getaway, and they played some new songs there too, and the crowd was just as into it. The visuals of that show is still phenomenal. The Chili Peppers put on one of the best live shows ever possible. Period. So yeah, I don't think it had anything to do of, oh, I just don't know the song when you use a bathroom break.
Okay. So to put this in perspective, I actually looked up the set list of your concert.
Of MetLife, yeah. Four new songs.
4 new songs from Unlimited Love, 5 from Californication, 3 from Stadium Arcadium, 2 from Blood Sugar Sex Magic, 2 from By the Way, 1 off of Greatest Hits, and I couldn't figure out which one it was. Oh, Soul to Squeeze. There we go. Helps if you click the link. And then there was an improvisation. So out of the, 12, 14, 16, 18. Is my math wrong? 9 threes, 12, 14, 16. No, I was right. 18.
18?
18. Out of the 18 songs they did.
Sorry, I forgot the encore.
They did not play anything from The Getaway. They did not play anything from I'm With You.
No, well, that makes sense.
Well,
John wasn't on those albums.
Right, but you can argue that Josh wasn't on the albums that he was playing, so why can't?
Because the albums that Josh wasn't on were the multi-platinum selling albums.
Doesn't matter. But
no, kind of. I mean, listen, when you're going to see Chili Peppers with John Frusciante, you don't want to hear him just do a bunch of Josh songs.
I want to hear The Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie.
You do not. You're
yes,
just trying. No, you don't.
I really like that song.
Wait a minute. Are you actually being serious and saying you like that song?
I like that song and Danny California on this. Yeah, I like both of those songs.
On the same level. Danny, hold on. You're comparing.
Yes.
The Adventures of that. It's such a stupid name. I can't even pronounce it without giggling. And Danny California.
Yes.
You're looking me straight in the eyes.
Yeah, well, here,
That's
let me get my webcam in front of me. Yes, I am.
That is ridiculous.
I like both of those songs just the same.
That song was not. I'm sorry, but
you like The Getaway. Come on.
Yeah, but not enough to be like, oh, I like it just as much as Danny California. I admit it
because there was no songs on that album that were that good.
There were some decent songs, but I would argue that Adventures is even on John Frusciante's weakest songs. Anything off of I'm With You pales in comparison.
I would take Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie over any song on these 2 double albums.
I don't know about that.
I do.
I don't know about that. I'm not saying that I would make that trade. I try to avoid that trade and be like, can I just have some more Stadium Arcadium, please? Side note.
I think everybody would.
Well, yeah, that's true. But actually, without me turning this into me ridiculing you for liking the Adventures of Maggie, Rain, and the Sugar Children,
Rain Dance Maggie.
Well, whatever. Who gives a crap? And the reason why I brought up the whole point of seeing the mass exodus of people leaving to go to the bathroom, I still vividly remember. So one of the best concerts of my life, and I actually would probably say this is the best concert I ever saw in my life, was the Chili Peppers in 2006 Stadium Arcadium tour in Philadelphia. Everything about that show, from the lights, the sound, the chemistry, the just musicianship, was 100% phenomenal. And one of the things I still vividly remember hearing was the band play Charlie, which at the time, I mean, now it's a fan favorite. And when they played it at MetLife this past summer, I was flipping out and it was ecstatic. But at the time, especially, even though it was off the new album at the time, Stadium Arcadium, it was still a relatively deep track. I don't even think it ever really came out as a single.
It didn't.
But the fans, even though it was a new song and a deep track off of the new album, everyone in that arena was just enthralled. Maybe because the song was great, maybe because it was just John Frusciante being incredible. And just to see him play it live was amazing. But like, I compared that experience of seeing the band play a deep track off of the new album to hearing them play deep tracks off of Unlimited Love, and it's just night and day. You see an audience just enthralled on every single note the band was playing, to them not caring, them going, you know what? I know I already went to the bathroom, but let me do it again. Actually, in a side fun story, I waited to go to the bathroom like toward the end of the show. And as I'm up the stairs is when they start playing Give It Away. And when I came back, Jen, my wife, was like, you chose the wrong time to go. I'm like, Actually, I don't think I did. There was no line for the bathroom. I came back and I still got to give it away. Like, so it was actually the best time to go. So, because I beat the lines. That's how bad it was during the new songs where it's literally was crowded at the bathrooms because, oh, they're playing something off of Unlimited Love. I bring that all up because that leads me to say I kind of understand why they would want to release new music to kind of make people maybe forget about Unlimited Love because clearly it wasn't gaining the traction that they had hoped. But then that leads me to the question, and hence the theme of am I missing something? So then why would you do another double album that is going to probably be just as challenging for fans to really engage with in a short time period?
Because it was all from the same recording sessions. Because
then
they
why
were
just
that on a
pick-
roll.
But just pick. I mean, are they that delusional or that lazy? That's
Could
another
be
question
A,
too.
could be B, or weed is legal, so there's C.
But
I
like,
mean, I honestly have no good answer as to why they felt it was good to continue down the same path that they continued down on Unlimited Love. It sounded forced and it sounded awkward. And while this sounds a little less awkward because maybe this was after the, all right, well, we recorded 17 songs, I guess we're okay phase, hey, let's keep going. Let's see where we can go. And it turned into a whole nother session of recording. But it doesn't change the fact that this is not the Chili Peppers that I think people want. People want those late 90s, 2000s Chili Peppers, or even hell, I'll say just the 90s period, the 90s and the early 2000s Chili Peppers.
But now that leads me to, and I feel like I'm getting deja vu and flashbacks to when we discussed Ozzy Osbourne's last album, Patient Number 9. Yeah, there's definitely moments on both albums where you're like, huh, this is not what I was expecting. But then they do songs like off of Unlimited Love, The Heavy Wing, or Bag of Grins, where it's definitely clearly guitar influenced and dare I say even 90s heavy guitar influenced at certain points. And it still kind of sounds like, I mean, those are some more of the highlights off of each album. Side note, I thought Heavy Wing was one of the highlights of Unlimited Love, but then I saw it live. I'm like, oh, not as mind blowing as I thought it was going to be. So then it leads me to the question of, is it really better if they try to recapture the 90s Chili Peppers? Will it actually make it better, or will it just sound forced?
I mean, they clearly didn't try to capture it on either one of these albums, maybe except for, like you mentioned, a few points. So if they're not trying to recapture it, I don't think we can ask that question because that question isn't based in really reality at this point. I mean, maybe it's in reality on the cover of Return to the Dream Canteen, or whatever that trippy thing is. But
now that you mentioned that, can we take a moment to just say what the hell with that cover?
The only thing that I can really pick off of that cover that I think is a Simpsons reference are the eyes in the sky when Homer was tripping on peyote and he saw the coyote and it turned into the sky. That's really the only thing that makes any sense on here.
Like I mean, we've done a past if you have to pick 3 episode on great albums with terrible cover artwork. I'm not saying this is an amazing album, but I almost wonder if part of me went into being critical or pessimistic just because of that terrible cover artwork.
I don't know.
Or maybe I was pessimistic because I'm like, wait, another double album? Didn't we just do this like a few months or weeks ago? Maybe that was it too.
We have to just continue down the path of, are the Chili Peppers ever going to do something again that's not mature sounding? Like, I think that's where they're at in their career.
Can you clarify that statement? That
like
that's not mature sounding.
If you listen to like Californication or even Stadium Arcadium, and you listen to those songs, there was this youthful vibe and energy that they put out on these songs, and it makes you feel like good to listen to the music, and it feels good to listen to what you're hearing. Like Danny California, every time it comes on, the opening drums just are like, yeah, it's Danny California. Nice. Yeah, I get to hear Danny California again.
So maybe it's
Or,
not, because when you say mature, to me, I thought you meant
well,
like, oh, you mean like they're talking about mature stuff and not like dick jokes. Because like
no,
Aqua Mouth Dance, I'm sorry, like that's a stupid fucking pun. So I was
well,
like, is that what you're talking about? But now I think it sounds like more something that inspired what you're more talking about, like something that like,
I don't know if it's inspired. So
I don't hear. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
going into Return to the Dream Canteen and knowing what they did on Unlimited Love, the music on here just sounds like we're a bunch of older guys, in which they are, no knock on it, but it feels like we're going to play, and we're just going to play for the sake of playing. We're going to live off of the name of the Chili Peppers, and we're just going to stay here, and we're not going to do anything that's too crazy. We're going to sing about weird things, and you're still not going to be able to figure out what the hell we're talking about, but we're going to sit here and we're going to play in this one space, and we're going to exist in this one space, and it's going to feel kind of relaxed. It's going to feel kind of vibey. Like if you want to stand in the corner and kind of nod your head, you can do it, but there's no energy to it. Honestly, I think the best way that I can say this, and you can call me out and tell me I'm wrong, it feels like somebody who dressed up a car from the 1960s to make it look super fast, and it barely goes 25 miles an hour.
I can see that. But I do want to ask a question, because one of the comments I made when talking about Unlimited Love was you can see them testing the waters and not necessarily going full in because of whatever reason.
Yep, I remember that.
It makes me, and the thing at least about Unlimited Love is it gave me hope that maybe the next album will show that, okay, we're back in it. And I feel like we're being critical of Return of the Dream Canteen as if, all right, this is the follow-up. This is where we're going to find out if, to your point, do they still have gas in the tank? Is that fair to ask or to say? Because this is just part of that whole back to dating scenario. And maybe they got this out of their system. So now they'll go the next album, if there, let's be real, if there is, because nothing's, a sure thing. Maybe the next album is when they're going to be like, all right, we clearly still have it. We still clearly are still brothers. Let's get into it. But then maybe that's not fair to say either, because then I also think back to, did you watch their performance on the MTV Video Music Awards?
I caught a piece of it.
Me and my wife, Jen, were shocked because that happened about a week or two or so, how many weeks after we had seen them live, and we both thought they were great at MetLife. Then we watched them perform both Black Summer and Can't Stop. And we both were like, was this the same band that we had just seen? Because something was just not clicking. It was just a kind of a mess of a performance on all fronts.
Now that you say that, I remember kind of cringing.
It was a little cringy. Not like, oh my God, this is like, what happened? It was like something is a little off. The fact that they couldn't spend a little more time going, all right, let's keep this song, let's cut this song, or let's actually just make one album instead of just dumping everything that we recorded into a double album. Maybe that's just further proof in the pudding that we're at the phase of the Chili Peppers just coasting on the name, as you kind of mentioned.
I mean, I'll take a sock on a dick at this point. I mean, I think that's what they need. They need
Matt,
something.
Matt, the internet is a great thing. You could Google just sock on a dick.
I'm sure I could, and I'm pretty sure
you don't need to pay $200+ to see a sock on a dick anymore.
But I mean, those are the Chili Peppers that you want, though. Those are the Chili Peppers that you remember.
No, hold on. Actually, that brings up a point too. Is it? Because I think what made the Chili Peppers so great, and maybe what's so disappointing about these albums, is that I mean, it has been 30 plus years since, even more years since the sock on the dick face of Chili Peppers came to existence. When by the time the Californication came, it was almost like, all right, we need to prove ourselves with this album, and they did. Same deal, by the way, and with Stadium Arcadium. You can make an argument that those albums proved that, you know what, even after so many years of success, that we could coast. I mean, you could argue that they could have just coasted on Blood, Sex, Sugar, Magic, but they didn't. Although one hot minute kind of decreased their value, so maybe they need to come back. But like, they could have coasted early on. I mean, to me, I almost feel like you would get very different answers from certain people. Some fans might say, yeah, early albums, that's the one. I think it really, and that's what makes the Chili Peppers so great, is that they have gained such a vast different variety of fans that go from really old, in their late 50s, early 60s, who've been with them since day one, to younger fans who discovered them on Californication, to even younger fans who discovered them on Stadium Arcadium. I think very few bands can say that.
Right. But to your point, I think because they could have coasted and didn't coast, and they put out some of the most memorable music they've ever put out, it showed that there was fire, that there was energy, there was something there still. This is not that. This is not that band. This is not a band that I look forward to seeing an album come out from anymore. Like, it used to be like, okay, the Chili Peppers are coming out with another album. I have to get it. I have to hear it. I want to hear it day one. Like, I honestly, when they put this out, I could have cared less, because Unlimited Love was the first date back together. And then, according to the people who were there and, in the room, hey, the first date went great. And then that was on a Friday. And on a Sunday, they were like, hey, let's have our second date. And now they recorded 17 more. But to everybody else around them, they're looking at like, why the hell are you guys yelling at each other? Like, that's not a great first date. And to the people who are involved, yeah, it's great. Us on the outside, we're looking at this new album, Return to the Dream Canteen, like, did you really need to do 17 more songs? Did you really need to do this? Could this have waited? Was it really a good first date? Could you possibly like give it a year to marinate and then see where you're at?
Yeah, I think it's clear that they just wanted to get this out when it definitely could have used more time in the oven. Which I think
they just jumped into it too quick.
Yeah. And I think I'd like to say I'm still excited for Chili Pepper albums, and I was definitely excited because Frusciante was back. But I'd also be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed, because, and it's hard / maybe unfair to even say, well, to compare this to Californication, because the band was different at that point. They were in different headspaces, and that's such an amazing album. But I guess it's just a little disappointing when a band that used to be able to be creative and exciting just coasts. Going back to Josh's comments, because he in another interview, he also was talking about how he felt that the producers were kind of getting in the way. Even he actually butted heads with Rick Rubin during On With You, and then he thought maybe having Danger Mouse produce The Getaway would help, but even that was kind of stifling.
Nope.
I think the issue is that the Chili Peppers are such legends that they no longer really take consultation from outside voices, unless their name is Rick Rubin, and it's clear that Rick Rubin is not as vocal as he probably should be.
I think they need to do something. They need to figure out where they go next, because this clearly is not the space where they need to reside. They need to go either more funk, more rock, maybe you go more reggae, but pick somewhere else to live other than where these last 2 to 3 albums live.
But do they?
Yes,
do they need to?
Yes, they do. But if you're gonna, and I'll say the same thing I said about Ozzy, if you're gonna continue to put out music, you are putting yourself out there for criticism. And I don't care who it's from, whether it's from us as fans or other reviewers Or
At this point, though, could you argue that it doesn't matter how much criticism they receive, they're still going to sell out arenas?
living on their most famous material.
Yeah,
Then don't put out new music. Just do that.
but why
Then there-
not? If they, why not? If they, I mean, do they really owe us at this point?
No, they don't. Nobody owes us anything. They choose to do this. And if I choose to go get like 50 McNuggets and eat them all in one sitting, I'm going to feel like a fat ass. And that was my choice. So you're choosing to put out this new music and you're choosing to, get that criticism because let's face it,
it's clear they don't care about the criticism. I mean, it's clear also that they could release a dud album and it still sell out. And not only can they still sell out MetLife, because granted, you can argue that they sold tickets to MetLife months before they even had a new album out, so, or even announced it. So you can maybe argue that they tricked people into going to the show, but clearly people still showed up. When I went to MetLife, it was still packed. Not many resale tickets, if any. It was still a packed stadium, not arena, stadium. And yeah, maybe people went to the bathroom during the new songs, but they were still there. So why not just if you want to have fun and just release new music and say screw it, and it's not going to make people go, well, I'm not going to the shows anymore.
Because people, and we've said this many a time, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. And if they're going to do, the release new music thing, if you're not going to release, decent new music, at least you could test the waters out like they did in, what was it, 2012 and 2013, where they released like the 2-song singles. What was that thing that they did?
We all know that that's less exciting.
Yeah, but it's not exciting when you had a full album and it's not good.
Yeah, that's true too.
Like, I got excited for Unlimited Love, and they put out all of the gimmick color albums. I think they did like an LA Laker color one, and they did, just all the colors of the rainbow. And then I think they're trying to do the same thing with Return to the Dream Canteen, but I don't think it's gonna sell. Like, yeah. I get the gimmick and I get what you're trying to accomplish, but if it's not good, I'm not gonna buy it.
Well, you know what? We could probably go on.
You can't hurt me.
Well, before we ask you to suck our kisses, let us know what you think, because clearly Matt and I can probably go on and on about this. But let us know what you think. Do you think this onslaught of double albums in the year 2022, when everyone just wants to listen to songs here and there, whether it's actually showing that the Chili Peppers are at their creative peak, or they're just lazy? What do you think of Return of the Dream Canteen? What do you think of Unlimited Love? Are we right? Are we wrong? Just tell us what you're thinking of the state of the Chili Peppers in 2022 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Epic Footnote. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more episodes and babbling like this, as well as other reviews, including a ton of Red Hot Chili Peppers content. I mean, I think between them and Metallica, Chili Peppers are definitely one of the more covered bands in our episodes. And thank you so much to Lucky 13 Beard Code.
Log on to Lucky13, and make sure that you check out all of the great beard balms and oils that they have in stock, because you're going to feel good, smell epic, and we're going to help you smell even more epic with our brand new Lemmy-inspired beard oil, bourbon, cola, tobacco, leather. It is a winning combination. It is probably the best smelling beard oil I've ever smelled, and we're going to give you 10% off of that and anything else that you throw into your cart by using the code EFP10 at checkout. EFP10 get you 10% off of your entire order. Lucky13, beardco.com.
Yeah, we're giving it away now. Oh, see what I did there. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you on the other side.
Dark necessities, are they part of their design?